we go.
Welcome to Catalyst for Healing. We are so happy that you're joining us today. And I have a very special guest, Yolette Serna. The doctors aren't with us today, but she is going to share with us about, she's a naturopath. Maybe why don't you introduce yourself so I can get it right?
Okay, so CNHP, so Certified Natural Health Practitioner. And so I'm a naturopath and I practice here in Huntington Beach. And the name of my business is The Art of Healing.
Yolette is amazing. So I just saw you, about a month ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have been confused my entire life about supplements. I read something and then I'm like, oh, I have to get it. And then I end up with this huge pile of supplements and I can't tell what's working. And then I'm spending all this money. And so anyway, I found you and I was so excited because you do something very scientific to help with supplements.
Correct.
And so I wanted you to share about that for people watching that are dealing with depression, anxiety. You know, I've talked to you about ketamine treatments and how sometimes we want to get the holistic approaches in place as well so that they can long-term feel better.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And this is a really critical piece. So why don't you talk about what you do specifically that makes it scientific?
Okay. Well, in my practice, what we do is when Maria came in, we gave a prick or a little poke to her finger, got a couple drops of blood. We put them on a slide and then looked at it under a high-powered microscope. And then I take a look around and address a few things that I see. But the best part is when I put it on the monitor for Maria to see what's going on inside of her body. So it's called we do like a live cell demonstration. And we get to see the red blood cells and we get to see the plasma. So we get to see what's going on inside the body. So with people, what benefits, for me, in my opinion, what are the benefits of seeing that? It's like we immediately get a picture of what's going on inside the body. And so like I have clients that deal with depression and anxiety and whatnot, and they'll come to me and they'll tell me they don't have like the energy. Yeah. They're like, I don't have any energy. Well, we can see that in the blood because on the screen in front of our eyes, the red blood cells will just start popping.
Yeah.
And they'll disappear in front of us. And so
she was showing me, I mean, what was so cool was she's got a picture of my blood up and then all these other bloods around it. And so it was very scientific. Yeah. I mean, maybe you could share, we found out I had a fungus infection. There was some very obvious markers that you tuned into right away.
Right. So like in the plasma itself, as it's sitting there, the platelets will start spreading. And as it sits there on the screen, it'll start getting bubbles. And so that's when we know that there's an excess of yeast or candida technically it's not in the blood. It's the byproduct, it's the endotoxins that the yeast is releasing. And so it's proof of candida or yeast. And so that's fixable. But the best part is my clients freak out. They're like, oh my gosh, this is in my blood. And then I'm like, don't panic. This is all fixable. And so
like with that one, you're like, I think it's only a month that you'll need and then you'll be fixed. And I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah. And it's usually like we see so much success in 1 month. Mm-hmm. And so I usually have my clients go on a protocol. We use Nature Sunshine vitamins. Love the company.
Tell them why, because I think that is important. I mean, again, I was ordering supplements from wherever, all over.
Yeah. So Nature Sunshine, I just used the company because when I was sick, when I was 39, when I started using the brand, I went in, got my blood checked, and then I was running sick, and then I was like feeling better after a month. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I guess these work. And when I saw my blood again on the screen, because I was like, I'm going to prove that these supplements don't work. I'm going to prove that they don't work. And then when I saw my blood back on the screen again and I felt better, I was like, no, this works. But I love the company because they were explaining how there's 500 vitamin companies out there, and they're one of 5 that use a machine called the mass spectrometer machine, which is $750,000. And so when they get their product, they can verify that it's a clean source. Mm-hmm. They trust their source, but they're going to make sure that it's even clean. And then they have complete control from when they receive their source through production and manufacturing, and they can guarantee what's inside every supplement. So you're guaranteeing, and it's standardized, so like you're guaranteeing that when I say I'm going to take this amount of milligrams of magnesium, that's what's in my supplement.
Yeah.
And all my clients are in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
And they see the results. So
And I thought the pricing was very reasonable compared to other companies.
It is. And especially when you're getting that guarantee that it's clean.
Yeah.
It's clean, it's under control, and they've never had one write-up. They've been in business for 52 years. I love it. So,
yeah. So anyway, you did that with me, and then you recommended the supplements that I needed. And I can tell you within a day, I was noticing a difference. It's like this level of calm that my brain isn't quite, like not my norm was really apparent, and just feeling better. And I've never noticed a difference on supplements. So that's why I was excited about the company, but also your approach, because I felt like I was getting exactly what I needed. Yeah. Like, what do you notice with clients that you're working with, let's say with depression and anxiety? What kind of changes do you notice when they're really dialed in with their supplements?
I would always say, like, they appreciate, I always usually use magnesium.
Okay.
The B12 methylcobalamin and the B complex, those are like our golds, because we're building healthier red blood cells. And then, but my clients, they're just
those are all connected to energy.
They're all, yes.
Okay.
And the bees definitely build a healthier red blood cell. They form a stronger cell wall. So then that red blood cell is able to deliver those nutrients, vitamins, hormones to the areas that need to be delivered. So now we're building a strong red blood cell to deliver those nutrients to where they need to go. So people can I've had clients come to me and they're like, they're on their protocol, they're on their medications, and they're like, I don't feel good still. I'm like, okay, well, what's not working? Well, we need a better delivery system. So when we clean the blood, we give them that good foundation for them to deliver that. But like when it comes to like mental health and depression and anxiety, I notice like people appreciate the SAMe, the 5-HTP. People love the ashwagandha because it's an adaptogenic. So it gives you the energy if you need it, or calms you down if you're stressed out. That's everyone's favorite. I love personally the 5-HTP and the B vitamins were my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have one called Anxious Less, and that's a combination that's really good for people with anxiety. And so the company provides a lot of good stuff, but it's not just all of that, because like even when they come to me, we clean the gut too, because there's twice as much serotonin that's made in the gut than in our brains.
I know, people need to know that.
So then when they come to, so then it's like, okay, well, let's clean the gut also.
Yes. So how do you handle that with people that, let's say, aren't really dialed in with nutrition and think it's not a big deal, it's not going to make a huge difference?
That's a good question. Because what happens is they come in and they see me, right? And then I'm like, it works. I'm telling you guys, it's a challenge, but I think what I love about my modality of them seeing is believing.
Yeah.
So at first they're like, they don't think it's possible. But then when I also show them the before and afters of other clients, they're like, okay, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
But when they'll text me the next morning, I already feel better. Which is, I'm like, whoa, amazing. I'm like, I want to know how you feel. And they're like, I feel better. I text the next morning, I feel way better, and then other down the line, I'll check on them in a few days. I'm seeing results. I'm feeling results. Yeah. So I think like when like our clients start to feel and see the results, they just need that like one step to move forward in order to like feel better. Yeah. And so it's like, I feel like, all right, I'm telling you right now, this is going to change your life. This is, and they're like, okay, I'll do it. Yeah. So it's just that they just need to get over to that one step. And then once they see that, then like they can get to the next step and the next step.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing you do really well is the food intolerance testing. And I loved that also because it was scientific the way that you did it with me. And I already knew, I have to tell you, I haven't changed anything yet because I'm still pretty angry about how much I am intolerant to. Like, I already knew I couldn't, do gluten, dairy. I'm very cautious with sugar, but like, there was a lot of stuff on that list that came up, and I'm still like I'm doing the supplements. I know you
Okay,
said
yeah.
that. You were like, start with the supplements.
Yeah, just start with something. Yeah.
But I am now thinking about all the things like the strawberries and the bananas and all the nuts that came up. And I'm like, now that I think about it, I don't feel great when I eat those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm getting ready in the new year to start eliminating a little at a time. I
Yeah.
just, I'm having some resistance with that. But talk about the process that you go through and, how people can even do it at home.
Oh, with the Dr. Coca, the pulse test?
Yes.
Okay.
The pulse test.
So
cool.
Dr. Coca invented the pulse test. His wife got super sick back in the 60s where they were like, she couldn't walk, she couldn't garden, she couldn't go hang out with her friends. And so he's a well-known doctor, president of a pharmaceutical company for 17 years, taught at some high-end university. So anyways, his wife gets super sick, and she's in the hospital, and she's like just eating her hospital food that night, and she was eating potatoes. She's like, honey, my heart's like races like when I eat potatoes. And he's like, that's weird. And she's like, and so he checks her pulse, and then it's like off the charts. And he's like, okay, well, don't eat potatoes. And then the next day it was tomatoes. And then, and everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
So then he realized, he's like, okay, this is interesting that people have a food sensitivity. They have a food allergy to certain things. And so he invented this pulse test where the nude pulse test is you sit here, you can use an oximeter and get your BPM. So like if I'm at 80, and I put something in my mouth and I eat it, and if it's 6 beats and above, then you have a food intolerance to it.
Yeah.
So your heart will race when you're allergic to something. So I did the test, and so it works. So I knew I'm allergic to egg yolks. So I did my test, and let's just say that day I was at 80 at a resting rate. And when I ate my egg whites, it was like 80, 82, no big deal. And then when I'm like, because I wasn't feeling great, not horrible, but I was like, oh, I'm going to eat those egg yolks. And so I ate the egg yolks, and then sure enough, my pulse was at 110. Wow. 30, and I didn't feel it here, but it was.
And you did it with me just by holding vials of each thing.
Yeah, and I would check your pulse, and then
that's just
your heart
crazy.
will drop and then race, and so then it's like, all right. So yeah, it's an interesting test, but I love that he was an MD, and then he brought all his colleagues in and told them. Because what he did
and you told me, like, do it at home. Mm-hmm. You can eat something, use my Apple Watch.
Mm-hmm, and check your own pulse.
Check your own pulse.
Yeah. And it's free. And you just, it's like, okay, so if it's 6 beats above, you're resting.
So explain the benefits. Maybe that'll motivate me to eliminate some of those foods.
Well,
what is the intolerance doing for me if I keep eating it?
Basically, your body is constantly putting out a fire. So it's never having the chance to do its job and just healing and living. So it's a constant fire alarm. And so your body's like, we got to take care of this fire, and we can't take care of everything and anything else. Yeah. And so and then with wheat and other things, it plays with our hormones. And then with for me personally, it causes it just like bloating, and I'm like, and then it causes a lot of other disturbances. It's like,
so tiredness would be a big one.
Tiredness was a huge one. Yeah, because your body's constantly fighting it. It's like you're sending, every time you put something in your mouth, you're sending that signal, inflammation, and your body goes into like, let's fight it mode, and your body's producing more white blood cells, and it's saying, okay, we got to fight this, and we can't heal here. And so like with like my I'm allergic to peanuts. Yeah. And so I was like eating super healthy, couldn't figure out why I was exhausted. And then I'm like, it's the peanuts. And I was eating protein bars. Oh. I was eating protein bars, but my doctor ended up doing the blood work. And he goes, you're severely allergic to peanuts. But I couldn't understand why I was low in energy. Right. Got off the peanuts. Wow. And then I had energy. So people were like, and that was going to help with mood if we have the energy. Of course. And if our body's constantly fighting and we're lethargic, well, it's not going to feel good. And it's like this catch-22. Well, I just want to go rest. I'm not going to want to work out. I'm not going to want to take care of myself. I'm not going to want to go to the store. I'm not going to want to cut those vegetables and take care of me. I'm going to, it's just like I just need to go lay down. I'm exhausted all the time. Yeah. So then it's like, okay, well, it's time.
And one thing I learned is your body gets desensitized to foods if you're eating them all the time. Mm-hmm. So that was a year ago. A chiropractor said to me, like, you have to get off, like, let's say dairy and gluten completely for a month so that your body is detoxing it. And
Mhm.
then when you bring it back in, you'll notice.
Yes.
And it was so weird how much that was true, because on a daily basis, I'm like, it doesn't bother me.
Right. Exactly.
So explain that. Like what happens in the body where it's like all of a sudden then, you know, if you take it out, because I think that's a good way to do it for people, is just like take something out for a month.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you really notice it, and it's like,
Mhm.
wow, that's having a big impact.
Right. It's kind of like that fire. It's like, oh, well, I'm just feeding the fire, so I'm not going to notice it. Not to notice it. Okay, now extinguish the fire.
Oh, I like that
Okay,
analogy.
yeah. And it's like, extinguish that. Okay, and then we introduce it, and it's like, boom, yeah. This is a problem. So it's like, you're kind of just like, well, it's okay. I'm just, I'm feeding this little fire. I don't notice the,
Yeah.
the heat.
And even with like gluten and dairy, though, I have to say, like, it felt devastating at first. Like, it really did.
It did.
But once you make those changes and you're feeling better, it's no longer an even question, because you're so motivated by how good you feel.
Absolutely.
Okay, so explain that, because a lot of people don't even want to do this because they don't want to know.
I found out I was gluten intolerant. My girlfriend was like, "You just try getting off gluten." I was like, "I am not gluten. I'm in denial, right? I'm like, this is not a problem."
Yeah.
Within 4 days, I kid you not, I had less inflammation. I didn't lose weight.
Yeah.
But I had less inflammation. And within 1 year, I don't know if I didn't tell you my story. This is a true story.
Yeah, tell your story.
Okay, so I was like, no, I'm in denial, right? And then I was like, within 4 days, my pajama pants were loose.
Oh.
Because inflammation went down.
Yeah.
Within, and then, get this, my ring size changed. I had to get my ring size changed. And this was within like 6 months. And I didn't lose a ton of weight, but I lost inflammation and the swellingness. I was able to use the restroom every day. I was, and then what else happened? Oh yeah, my vision turned to 20/20.
What?
Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so I went to my eye doctor, and he's like, "What are you doing different?" And he was so cute. He's retired now, but he goes, "What are you doing different?" He goes, "You got 20/20. I usually wear like a low dose of glasses, whatever." So he goes, "What are you doing different?" I go, "Well, I got off gluten." And I was taking frankincense and bergamot for anxiety and depression.
Oh.
Not every day, but like twice a week.
Okay.
And then I was doing that. And then he goes, well, that makes sense, because when you have inflammation, the water in the body is pressing against the eye. And the eye needs this fluid, like to keep going like this to adjust to, when you vision.
Right.
Because, but when you have inflammation, it's just this constant pressure behind your eyes, which was causing your blurry vision, and now you don't have blurry vision.
Wow, that is crazy.
So I felt great. I did eventually lose some weight, and to be honest, I did cry. I cried. I was like, when people I'm like, did you cry? Because I cried. Like when I found out, because it was my comfort food.
Oh, totally.
My comfort food was a cinnamon roll. I was like, okay. But then you find substitutes. You find other recipes. Yeah. And now it's like the greatest thing. And to be honest, like even at parties, we'll do like a gluten-free waffle station here and and then a regular station, regular. And everyone's like, whatever's in this waffle,
they like it
way better than that way. So they'll like. I
mean, we're so lucky because there's so many amazing options.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in California.
Yeah. So we have options now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so it's not the end of the world. So I just tell people, I'm like, but you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel good. And it's definitely related to mood also.
Yeah.
That was around the time I was like getting off my Lexapro. So I was on Lexapro for 9 years, and then I weaned myself off of that. And then I did those dietary changes, and then exercise.
And weaning off takes a while, right?
It took me 2 years.
Yeah, because I've been weaning. I'm still on some medication, but it's taking me about 2 years. Yeah, you have to do it really slowly,
very methodically, very slowly, and then I always say you have to switch one thing for another thing.
Exactly.
So I would, like, when I was like feeling like anxiety, instead of going to my little fraction of Lexapro, I would fill a veggie cap with like frankincense and bergamot oil, and then take that. Okay. And then my magnesium and my B vitamins.
What do you recommend for sleep? Like, that's also a big issue for a lot of our clients.
I've been seeing a lot of success for people when I give them tart cherry at night.
Okay.
And Sometimes melatonin's recommend melatonin, but magnesium's huge.
Yeah.
But the tart cherry is a precursor for melatonin.
Oh, I never heard
So
that one connected.
So that gets rid of the acid in the blood, and then also I have a couple of clients who are like, I sleep so much better because it makes you make your own melatonin.
Oh, nice.
So it's the natural, it's all.
So what are the main ones you recommend for depression?
For depression, ashwagandha is like, I'm seeing huge success.
Oh, that's right. We did kind of go over this.
5-HTP is amazing. Magnesium, but to be honest, like even a B12, but specifically the methylcobalamin.
Okay.
That's like a huge one. And
say that again.
Methylcobalamin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like how I remembered it back in the day. I was all methyl whatever, like read the big long writing. But I'm like, now I can say it. I couldn't say it for a while.
Right.
But that one's really huge. And so last night, my friend called me and she's like, you were right about my daughter, because she was put on some medication. And then they tested the medication to see how she was processing it, because she wasn't doing well on it, to be honest. And so they said that the medications for her anxiety and depression came back red flagged. And they go, and so you know what they recommended her? She goes, do you want to know what they recommended her last night? B12. Methylcobalamin.
Wow.
She's like, because she can actually process that one.
Yeah.
And she goes, you were right all along, Yolette. And I was like, she's like, I just want you to know. I was like, it was really cute.
That is
but
nice.
It's like, that's something that people can take while they're on any.
Yeah. Okay. And then what about anxiety? Like, what would be the main?
Ironically,
the same ones.
Yeah, the same ones.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can add like a passion flower. You can add a little valerian if you want.
Okay.
You can do your little chamomile tea too, but like it's the same ones.
Same ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, okay.
So there you go. That's it's just some simple supplements can make a big difference with mood.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, I don't know, can you think of any resource we could give for people that don't live local to see you that could find like more of the testing that you're talking about that's a little bit more scientific?
They can look up like a naturopath, and then they can always call for a free consultation if they want something over the phone.
Yeah.
And then but they can look up at for a naturopath.
So most naturopaths will do something like that.
It's rare for them to do live cell demonstration, but it might be a little bit more challenging, but just trust that like when we're recommending these ones to give it, and then also try it for the whole time, a month, 2 months.
Yeah.
And you have to give your body time to accept it.
Right.
And it's only like when you get off of it that you realize like, oh no, I really was making a difference.
That is true.
Right? Because your body gets used to it and stuff. But
all right. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in I think a couple of weeks so we can see if my blood's a little better.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'm excited just to share the information because I think it's so helpful to understand also what naturopaths do. Some people don't understand the difference between a naturopath and a medical professional. And so thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
and
thank you for having me
all
as
right.
a guest.
Well, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us at Catalyst for Healing.